Hi everyone, welcome to Camilla Cava Food Photography Podcast, a place where I interview talents in the food photography industry to help you and myself grow a food photography career. On today's podcast, I talk with Donna Crous, an award-winning blogger, food photographer, and Nikon Europe Ambassador based in Surrey, UK. Donna has been a Pink Lady Food Photographer of the Year finalist for 4 years in a row from 2017 to 2020, along with many other accolades throughout the recent years. Donna is best known for her food photography, styling, and recipe development from a broad range of health food magazines to cookbooks. Today we talk about her Nikon Ambassadorship, what it means working with an agent, the varying expectations of clients when creating a cookbook, and many more topics. Hi, Donna.
Hello, how are you? I'm so excited to meet you. I love your pictures.
Thank
I
you
think
so
they're
much. I love
so
your
gorgeous.
pictures. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
thank
so
you.
happy that you're here today. I love your pictures, so it's going to be really fun to talk to you. So, for the listeners that might not know you, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Donna Crous. I am a professional food photographer. I am also a mother of two and a wife, and all of these things combined. Yeah, I'm a Nikon Ambassador and the first Nikon Ambassador for food photography, which is exciting. And I started blogging, developed my food photography from there, and that's how I've built this business in food.
Lovely. Lovely. So, how long have you been photographing right now?
Coming on probably about 6 years. Professionally, probably about 5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's still new, still fresh career. And I'm learning every day, always learning.
Yep.
I love that it's one of those genres I think that's still growing across the spectrum. And as food
Mm-hmm.
photographers, we are all still always learning. And there's just so much information out there.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. That's what's most exciting for me about this job is the fact that it never stops, the learning curve and everything,
Yeah,
and development and equipment and style. It's always changing. That's
yeah,
so exciting. Yeah.
yeah.
So what would let's say, so you're a food photographer, of course. So what would you say are what kind of clients are you working with mostly?
I do cookery books. So
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with publishers based in the USA. They're based in Boston, and what happens is they will send me a manuscript, and then I'll shop. I always have to add shopping because that's such a big part of food
Oh
photography,
God,
which
yeah.
people don't realize.
Uh-huh.
So I shop, I cook, I style, I photograph, post production, and send them back like a fully completed visual image of the book.
Oh wow. Uh-huh.
So I do that. My other clients are, I have a number of PR brands where I work with fresh produce suppliers, which I love working with fresh produce.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do a lot of work for Nikon over and above that, a lot of talks and that with Nikon. And I'm just trying to think. Just generally, I work with a lot of brands, just
Mm-hmm.
promoting their products, that sort of thing.
Like sponsored post kind of thing, no?
Not
Or not?
really so much in terms of sponsored posts, but just developing images for them, imagery for their
Mm-hmm.
social
For
media.
their social, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not big on doing sponsored posts and sort of the influencer stuff because I think you can get wrapped up in that, and that's not really my business. For me, if I do a shout out on Instagram, it's because it's a product that I love and I use,
Uh-huh.
not because I'm being paid to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. And then you mentioned that you work a lot with the cookbooks. Usually those are big projects, aren't they?
Mm,
Like
yeah, very big projects.
tons of
Yes,
amount of pictures. Yeah.
yeah. So that can take anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks of.
Whoa.
I like to work Monday to Friday only, so
Uh-huh.
that I have Saturday and Sunday to have some time off. It's physically demanding
Mm-hmm.
and creatively demanding as well. So when I first started, I would work 7 days a week, 24/7. Everything was book, book, book. And I found that I was getting to a point where I was really battling creatively to actually put
Yeah.
pictures together. And I felt that everything started to look the same. Um, so I really kind of set strict rules to stop working on a Friday night and start working again on a Monday. And it made such a difference when it came to everything, my energy levels, my
Uh-huh.
creativity, had more time with the family. I didn't have that guilt that I was working and trying
Mm-hmm.
to run a family and everything else. So yeah, I highly recommend that. No matter whether you're working for a client or whether you're working for yourself, or definitely to take that time off. You really need a creative break.
That makes sense, because you as an entrepreneur, like you're in charge of your own time, and if there is no one, like, and there's always so much work, so if there's no one telling you, okay, this is weekend, you don't get paid for weekend, like you always just continuously working. So
and
that's
me,
a
I
good
always
tip.
try and get everything in before the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this thing about deadlines where I will not be late for a deadline. So even if I have to work until midnight or 2 o'clock, I'll do that. So it's something that it's just in my nature to give it my all. Sorry, to give it my all. But actually, at the end of the day, I can actually end up doing more damage. Not just in terms of what I'm delivering, because it's maybe not as good as what it should be.
Interesting. That makes sense. Now, you say it takes about 6 to 7 weeks, right? A project like that.
Yeah.
So how many images can you do in a day of it? Because you cook yourself as well with food, and you don't work with food stylists, do you?
No, I do it all myself. Depends. Sometimes I'll work with a home economist, but generally it's all myself. So on average, I like to set myself five recipes a day. And within those 5 recipes, I'll have main courses and then some easier dishes as well.
Right.
So it's just a little bit of combination. To do 5 full courses, 5 full dishes is quite heavy. 5 full sort of main courses where it's a lot of cooking and all of that. So I'll kind of break it up between a couple of, say, breakfast dishes or desserts that are quick and easy, just to get a good combination of all of them. And then so hopefully all the recipes go well. I can get 5 done a day. Sometimes the recipes don't always work, and you've got to reshoot and go back and get more ingredients and that sort of thing. So or you lose concentration and you're busy shooting, and then it burns. So there's those little things that I have to factor in as well sometimes.
Yeah, like extra time just in case.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did that happen to you, that food just burned because you were
yes.
Yeah?
It happens. I can't say it happens regularly, but it does happen. These mistakes happen. You drop a dish or something, or the cake breaks and you've got to rebake it. These things happen. You just got to go with the flow. You've just got to roll with the punches and make sure you have extra ingredients in case that happens. Otherwise, you got to put it off for another day.
Oh God, yeah, that's a good one as well. But so, okay, when you're cooking, let's say, do you then prepare the set in the meantime? Because 5 recipes sounds like a lot of time already just preparing the food, but you also need to create a whole setup for each dish, probably a bit different vibe and...
Each set is individual. And what I'll do is I'll do all the prep for all the dishes beforehand, and then give myself the cooking time to do while it's cooking, to do the setup. It depends on the dishes that I'm cooking. So if they really need to be cooked and shot immediately, then I'll work it that way. Otherwise, a lot of the dishes can be pre-cooked and left to cool, because it's actually easier to work with cooler dishes. And then I can just do all 5 images straight after each other. Right. So it really just depends on what I'm cooking and how long, whether it'll be able to stand for a while or not.
So a lot of preparation is involved beforehand, probably the planning and right?
That's the key. That is the key to all of it, is that it's preparation. And I think that's the key to a good shoot and to a successful shoot is planning. It all starts from the planning stages.
So in a project like that, how long do you spend, let's say, in preparation? Do you book like one day for just prep and buying and making timelines and stuff like that, or?
So with that kind of project, I'll normally shoot, and depending on how that day goes, I will then sit. A lot of the time, what I do is I order online deliveries for certain parts of the ingredients. So I'll shoot until around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I kind of stagger my preparation. So I'll plan the shoot the day before, and I'll go to the shops in the late afternoon the day before, and then purchase the items that I need. I'll get a fresh delivery first thing in the morning for the other items, so then I'm ready to shoot for that day. And then each day kind of has a knock-on effect as to how that day went, as to then what the next day's shoot is. So I have ideas of which recipes I'm going to shoot on which days. And then it kind of just has a knock-on effect. It kind of dovetails each other in terms of the shopping and the making. So if I don't have a good shoot, then I'll move that day down one, and I'll continue the shoot from the previous day on the next day, and then kind of repeat in terms of the ingredients and the shopping.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it is a marathon. It's in fact, it's a sprint marathon. It's like it's like the longest sprint marathon you can ever do. It's like literally full blown sprinting for 5 days, for 5 days a week for 8 weeks.
Wow, crazy. Because I'm very curious about this, because usually what I shoot is more like commercial projects, which is like, let's say, maximum five days of a shoot, but that's like maximum and big project. So I'm curious how the whole recipe book process works, because that sounds very interesting as well, I think. Because you really stick to your own style in a way, right? Creatively, like you have all your basically most of the freedom to do what you like creatively, which I think is very, very nice.
Which is nice, because the author, I mean, a lot of that is predetermined by the author and the publishers. So generally we'll sit down, well, can't sit down in the same room because they're in America, but we'll have a meeting about the look and the style of the book. And I mean, you've got to remember that the author has chosen the photographer. So based off my style, I've already been chosen for that particular style.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, the author just generally gives free rein. And some authors I've worked very closely with, and others I've had no contact with at all. So it really just depends on the author and how involved they want me to get. Some of them I'll go back and give them feedback on the actual recipes and say how it worked, if I feel it needs changes, in terms of the ingredients, if I'm struggling to get a specific ingredient, because obviously ingredients can be different between here and the US. So I mean, one particular author, I've shot 3 books for her, and by the third book, when she was still in the recipe development stage, she was sending me messages saying, can you get such and such ingredient? Because for her, obviously, it's important that people in Europe and people in the rest of the world can also make her recipes and buy her book. So so that relationship worked really, really well.
Makes sense. So you work basically, or you have a deal, or at least you worked a couple times, so now it keeps working back, but the certain publisher that keeps coming back to you, or not?
It's the same publisher, yeah. So you're just registered with the publisher, and they put out your name to potential authors.
And then they come back to you if they find like there is a match between the style.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So is that the same thing as your agent that's representing you, or that's something else?
No, that's something else. So my agent that represents me is basically, it's new, my relationship with the agent. So I haven't done any work with them, but and they're a new agency as well. So they're still building up their client base at the same time as building up their photographer base. So I haven't, like I said, I'm in the process of moving. So I haven't been taking on any new work either. So it's a combination of the two. But what I have found with my agent is that they are really good at doing the negotiating and doing the contract negotiating and the prices and all of that, which is not my strong field. You know, when you start food photography, or you start photography and you have this idea you're going to go professional and you're going to start a business, you don't realize how much of your time is not spent behind the camera. It's spent behind the computer, emailing and backwards and forwards and all of that. And just having an agent to do all of that for me is so much easier. It's so much nicer. So that's what I use the agents. The agents are great for that. And if I have those emails where I think it's going to be a bigger project and it's going to be quite intensive, they also are able to help with bringing in extra crew if I need home economists or anybody on the lighting side. You know, studios in London, that kind of stuff. Then they put all of that together, as well as doing the contracts
sounds super
and the
helpful.
pricing.
Yeah. So they negotiate the price for you then as well when they talk to the clients.
Yeah. So they do all the negotiating, the backwards and forwards with the clients and everything, and then I just that's what's going to happen when I do start to take on some work.
Yeah. Oh,
I
but
just
congratulations on signing with a new agent,
thank
but basically.
you.
I think
Yeah.
that's an exciting step as well. Yeah, nice. And then, if I'm allowed to ask that, and if not possible, of course, that's not a problem. But how does it work then? Does the agent take percentage of your fee of the things that you sign, or
Yeah.
do you monthly kind of pay for them as part of your crew in a
No,
way?
they just take a percentage of the agreed fee. So obviously, it's in their best
Makes
interest
sense.
to agree a higher fee for you,
Yeah,
which is really good.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah.
motivator then. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a nice one.
I've also found like I've had clients that have sent through inquiries, and if I'm unsure about the client or I don't know, it's sometimes it can get awkward just talking about money. I really, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's definitely not mine. That's when I just say, you know what, I think you should rather just deal with my agent. These are the details, and get in touch with them.
Yeah.
And that just makes it so much easier on that whole side, on the negotiating side.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's
Yeah.
exciting. That's something interesting. And did the agent found you, or did you found an agent?
Yeah, the agent found me.
Oh, that's
They got in
useful.
touch with me. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm curious how that works. Nice, fun. Okay, now another topic is, of course, an exciting thing that you have right now going on. Also, is you're ambassador of Nikon.
Yes.
Tell
I
me
know
about it.
that is exciting because I think as a food photographer, I think we haven't seen much of food photography in the photography world.
Yep.
So I love the fact that I'm on board with Nikon, and we're really bringing food photography to photographers. And obviously during lockdown, it was just amazing because people were looking for things to photograph, and that was when food particularly has become really, really popular. So yeah, I mean, I love my relationship with Nikon. It's great that we're able to show food photography on such a big platform in the photography world. And yeah, I mean, it's been great. It's been a good, successful relationship.
So it's Nikon, it's not Nikon.
I think it's either or. I think it depends on where you come
Never
from.
sure.
I think it depends on where you come from.
Okay.
I've heard it's Nikon, so yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start saying Nikon then, because I keep saying Nikon, but I'm not
in
sure
the
that's
UK
correct.
we say Nikon, and
Okay.
then when I've been with German and French and Dutch photographers, they say Nikon. So
maybe that's why.
I think it depends on where you come from. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, so how long have you been working with them?
Well, I started with them probably about 3 years ago. They asked me to speak for them on food photography at the photography show in Birmingham.
Fun, yeah.
And from there, we started running workshops in their Nikon school in London. And then last year, they appointed me as an ambassador. So yeah, it was a relationship that slowly built and developed over time. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. So they found you basically in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then you just continued the relationship and working with them, and they liked working with you, of course. And
yeah, and I think they're all just amazing people, and they're all so friendly. And initially, I was terrified because I don't consider myself to be a technical photographer. I'm far more creative. So I was initially terrified. I thought, I don't know anything about cameras and different models and all of that. And they're just amazing. They've got an incredible technical crew. So they run with that all the time, and it's just great. They've just said to me, just show your creativity, because that's what we want to teach people. We want to teach photographers. We're here on the technical side, but it just show creativity and show people how to take pictures. And yeah, so that's been really great from that regard. Yeah,
that's an exciting step for your career as well, I bet.
Yeah, definitely. And again, just being a food photographer in this industry and meeting other photographers, it's almost like a novelty when they meet me and they go, "You're a food photographer. Oh, that's interesting." It's like, "Oh, never thought of that. Never thought of, I mean, they're all extreme sports and all of that, and there's me with
mostly like
blueberries.
portraiture, some nature portraiture, some sports indeed,
weddings.
some animals, but not much. We have weddings, but the food photography is not it's not that much. So when you tell about your that's really but it's super upcoming though.
And the reaction is always so positive. Like I always thought that, and I hate to say this, but I always thought that food photographers were looked down upon by the rest of the photography world. They were like, oh, food, that's so boring. But it's so not the case. I mean, every time when I meet photographers, they're always like, gee, food is like one of the hardest genres to shoot.
That's what they always say that.
Yeah. So I think I love it. I mean, they just like, and then they want to talk like, do you do the styling? Do you do the cooking? Like, they can't believe that there's so many aspects involved to it.
Yeah.
And, I think what surprises photographers is that, well, the thing about food photography is that we are in control of every pixel on that picture. Like, we are not sitting waiting for an opportunity to happen with 3 lions walking past you or birds or a sunset or anything. We are, as food photographers, are in full control of every single part of that picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so impressive about food photography, and that what photographers love about it is that, I mean, you have full control over everything.
Yeah, from the creating like a kitchen setups to all the way to the little detail on that food. Yeah.
And then the most asked question is your food real?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
Most asked question. If I got a pound for every time I was asked that question, I'd never have to work again.
Same here. Like always. So you use like the glaze of the, I don't know, automobile thing and for the maple syrup and things like that. Yeah. All the time. Or what do you use instead of ice cream? Like, is that the mashed potatoes?
Yeah, exactly.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So I'm always asked that question.
So do you use fake things?
No. Well, particularly for me, I mean, I'm essentially selling visual references to recipes for authors that have taken a lot of time to develop a recipe. I can't go and add fake stuff to that, because the person who buys that book goes home and makes it. If it doesn't look like that, they're in for a big disappointment.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of, I'm contracted by the publishers to ensure that I cook the recipe as per the recipe, the ingredients, and the directions. And I think it's only fair not to add things to an author's recipe and change it in any way. So I mean, there's little tricks of the trade. I'll probably undercook vegetables slightly so that they look nice and bright and colorful, and prop up soups with little bowls, little ramekins inside. Browning and oil on meat, those kind of things. But it's still all totally edible afterwards.
It's still food, yeah.
It's still all edible. My family still eat it afterwards.
Yeah. I agree with that approach. Only when it's a super big commercial shoot where you have like 5 days of shoot of the same thing or whatever, then I understand. But for the rest, I like photographing food as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, on the commercial side, I can't speak for that side. That's not a field that I'm in. So, but certainly from my side, it's all real.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, even down to the ice cream.
Yeah. That's a tricky one, though.
Yeah.
No, that takes seconds.
That's when you wish you had 10 arms. Yeah. One in the freezer and one scooping and one doing this, because it changes so quickly.
Yeah, it's incredible. Oh yeah. So what would be your advice for aspiring food photographer?
Follow your heart. Seriously. Like, I actually saw somebody put a post on Instagram saying that she loves her doing food photography in muted tones, but she feels that you kind of have to have brighter tones, and she's in this kind of no man's land of what she wants to do. And for me, I feel that if you follow your heart and you do what you love, and you look at the picture and go, I love that picture, I would print that up and put it on my wall. That's how much I love it. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. No. And I think it's really important that if that is the style you want to shoot in, then shoot in it, because that can become your totally unique individual style. That when people are paging through Instagram or something and they hit that picture, they go, oh, I know who that picture belongs to. I think it's really important not to try and do what everybody else is doing, and try and stand out. And if that means you got to mute your colors or do whatever, then do it. It's try and be unique and try and be individual, and try and just shoot from the heart and what you really want to do.
Yeah, you have to be proud of what you do instead of trying to copy and trying to fit in.
Yeah,
you need to niche down.
Try and stick to what you're comfortable with. And I mean, obviously, push yourself out of your comfort zone in other areas. But when it comes when it comes to a style, and learning to shoot and that kind of stuff, shoot what you love to shoot. I mean, the minute there's no connection with what you're shooting, then it's not going to come through in the image. You've got to have a real connection with it.
Yeah. How long did you took, like, let's say, to find your own style? Because that's another topic that I keep hearing about, that people are being a bit nervous about finding their own photography style. But I feel like it comes naturally, doesn't it?
I think it does. I mean, that's an interesting question, because I don't think I realized I had a style until people started telling me I had a style. So
Uh-huh.
I wasn't trying to achieve a style. I was shooting in a similar style all the time because I wanted the pictures on my blog to kind of have a bit of a flow and kind of match each other.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you achieve a style by having similar props and backgrounds and that sort of thing. But I didn't realize I was shooting in a particular style. But another thing that really can make your style stand out is your post-production. So what you do in post-production and how you change it around in post-production can create a style. I mean, I never use presets from other bloggers or photographers. I always kind of have my kind of go-to, not presets, but my go-to sliders that I'll change on Lightroom to create. And I think that across the board, when I do that across the board, it kind of comes out as a style as well. So, not try and change it around too much and jump around from different presets to try and make one picture look good. It's about making all your pictures kind of cohesive.
Yeah, because that's also important for social media, of course, for Instagram, the look of the feed.
Yeah.
Would you say Instagram is still an important part of your strategy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I mean, that's how a lot of people find you. It's an online portfolio. They'll find your Instagram feed, then they'll go to your portfolio, and then they'll make contact with you through your portfolio. So I think it's a really important way of getting in touch, and particularly when you're starting, you can instantly reach out to brands through DMs, and they can all they have to do is click across to your name to see what you can deliver. So it's really quick. It's so much easier than emailing, because a lot of the time you email and you never hear back. It's just I think it's an instant way of connecting with brands, without having to do the whole email introduction.
Do you do that a lot when reaching out to the brands that you like?
Not so much anymore, but I did when I was starting out, definitely. And I would, even now, like if I like a product, and as I mentioned earlier, I don't do many sponsored posts. And if I like a product, I'll tag that brand in the product, in the picture. So, sometimes they'll come back to me and they'll say, "Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Can we work with you?" Or, "Do you mind if we share the image?" Or something like that. I think it's important not to always have an agenda when you're doing this kind of thing, and just do it because you want your followers to see a product, or you want to reach out to a brand without saying, "Well, you've got to buy my picture, and I want this, and I want that, and I want that for the use of the picture." I think if you take a picture, tag the brand and say, "Hey," send them a DM and say, "Hey, I've tagged you in this product, in this picture. I hope you like the picture. Feel free to share it if you want." I think that's a nice way of establishing relationships, because it really is about building a relationship with a brand as well. And it's just a great way, particularly on the smaller side, on the smaller brands. It's a great way of connecting with brands that you want to work with and that you really like and you back. And smaller brands are always looking for photographers. Always, they're always happy to send you products and to work with you. I mean, it's not going to be massive shoots, massive commercial shoots, but it's fun to work with brands and grow with a brand.
And it's a good starting point. I think if you start as a food photographer and you're looking for clients, that's a good way to get in.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I mean, I do believe that you should always charge. There should be some form of compensation. I mean, when you're starting out initially and it's a collaboration and you're getting something out of it and they're getting something out of it and you're happy with it, that's fine. But I think it is important for the industry itself to make sure that you don't do free work just for the odd samples. I think it's important to make sure that people charge for work, because there's a massive amount of time and energy that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you start doing free work and giving away that time for free, it's, you know, it can be, you can be taken advantage of. So I think it's really important to establish from the very beginning, even if it's a small amount, even if it's a little amount, or an agreement for decent compensation with products, you know, not a free sample or one tub of ice cream or something.
Yeah.
It's got to be a good collaboration. You've both got to be getting something out of it, whether it's great exposure or something, but there does need to be something that you both get out of it, and not just them getting work out of it for nothing.
Yeah. But I think for the beginning, if you're just starting, then I think that getting out could be your portfolio and building a relationship and let's say developing a network. But if that same brand or someone comes back again, can we do a pictures? Then I think, yeah, it never should be a second time freebie kind of work.
Yeah, I think it needs to be made clear with the brand that this is the one-off. I have had circumstances with brands that I worked with in the beginning, and I gave them a lot of images.
Mm-hmm.
I spent hours on working on the images. And then as I got busier, they still expected the same. Same. So I think you've got to be careful about starting what you intend to finish, or what you intend to follow through with. So, you know, my first brand, I worked for 3 days on a shoot for them, you know, and now all I can give them is 3 hours, and they want the same level of what I was giving them, you know. And I gave them, like, I don't know, 100 pictures or something initially, and now they want, you know, now they're going, well, you've given us those in the past, why can't we get them from you now? So you have to be careful about what you set, the precedents you set with those clients, and they do need to be made aware that this is a one-off, and that the next time around you're going to negotiate a different fee, you know, so you've got to be careful.
So what would you say were your biggest milestones in your food photography career?
My biggest milestones, you know, I think it's about leveling up. So having small milestones, achieving those, and then going up to the next level. So for me, it started with my pictures being accepted on Food Gawker. I don't know if you know Food Gawker. It's an online site for blogging.
Okay. I know the name from somewhere. Yeah.
So what you do is you submit the images. You submit a image, and they will approve it and put it on their website. It's almost like a Pinterest, but they are more selective about the images that go up. And then you can click on the image, and you can add a link to your blog, and you click on the image and it takes you straight through to the blog. So, but they're quite selective. So for me, it started with submitting images to Food Gawker and having them accepted. Initially, they were turned down, they were rejected. But what's nice about them is they give you feedback if they reject it. So they'll say overexposed, underexposed, wrong angle.
That's good.
Something like that. So it gave me a base to start off with to try and get images accepted into Food Gawker. And then from there, it was, first one was a major party. It was like this big thing in my life that my image had been accepted. And then a couple more were rejected. And then it was about making sure that every image that I submitted was accepted. So that was one of my milestones. Another one was Pink Lady Food Photographer Competition.
Oh, that's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one. I didn't realize when I entered it how big it was. I didn't have any idea of the magnitude of it. So my first submission in 2017 was in the blogger category. I submitted 5 pictures, and 2 were shortlisted, and then 1 went through to finals and came 3rd. And I still didn't realize at the time how big the competition was and what that would do for me. And then from there, it opened doors. Through Pink Lady, I was introduced to the photography show in Birmingham. And they contacted me and asked me if I'd do a talk for them. And that was another milestone, because I didn't do public speaking at all. I was terrified of public speaking. I wouldn't even stand up and do a speech at my children's birthday parties. So that was a big step. And then through them, introduced to Nikon. So yeah, you know, milestones, they can be big, they can be small. I mean, I think it's about just setting constant goals for yourself and trying to achieve them, you know. And you know, when I first started blogging, I remember thinking, oh, I'd love to one day be able to do a recipe book, you know, just one day to be able to do my own recipe book.
Yeah.
And I've just completed my own recipe book with UK publishers. And I mean, at the time, I still thought, when you think it's just a pipe dream, it's like so far away from ever being able to happen. But it's happened, it happened organically. I was very fortunate, but it happened. And so I mean, you can have a pipe dream, but it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It could happen,
And when is the book being launched? You're launching your own book.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's also a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's exciting. It's super exciting. Yeah. So I'm launching it. I think it's being launched in November or December.
That's so exciting.
And so we're in the second stage of editing at the moment, and all the design and everything. But yeah, it's super exciting.
Did you make pictures yourself then? For
yes,
sure. Of course.
Yeah.
That's so exciting as well.
Yeah, so dreams are good. Dreams are,
dreams are important.
Whether it's just being accepted, whether it's having a picture reposted on Instagram by one of the big accounts, it can be any of those dreams. They're good. And they keep you motivated and keep you getting up the next day going, okay, I'm going to photograph, and my next picture is going to be good, and my next one's going to be better. And that's all it is.
That's important. I actually, when I just started in food photography and I decided, okay, I'm gonna become a food photographer, I made on the paper, like I wrote down, become an expert in food photography, and I sticked it on the fridge. And I still have that paper, and I'm not yet, of course, the biggest expert in the world or whatever, but I still have that paper, and I look at it and I'm like, I'm already kind of there. Like I am a food photographer already. And I don't know. It's just...
And that's the thing I find, is that so many people will say to me, oh, I'm not quite a food photographer for whatever reason. And I'm like, do you pick up a camera? Yes. Do you photograph food? Yes. Well, then you're a food photographer. You don't have to have accreditations and university degrees and all these things behind you, sponsorship or anything. That doesn't qualify you as a food photographer in my eyes. If you have a passion for photographing food, well, then call yourself a food photographer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting career to follow.
It is, isn't it great?
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it so much. I'm so happy about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody who's listening, if you're following this career, it's worth it.
It's a good call. It's a good
call. It's a goodie.
Call.
We love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, then the next question for me would be to you, what is most fun for you in your job as a food photographer?
I love it all. I love challenges. I do get terrified when I get a challenge, and you look at a new job and you think, oh, there's no ways I could ever do that. And then I love finishing it and thinking, oh, actually I did do that. I managed to do it. As terrified as I was, or out of my comfort zone, or out of my depth, I did it, and that's okay. So I think for me, it's the whole area of it. I don't think it's all fun for me.
Yeah,
I like to say that I don't have a job, I have a hobby. Because I don't want it to become a job. I don't want it to become something you've got to do every day to put bread on the table, to put food on the table. It must be fun. There must still be a love for it. And, there's a lot of times where I don't pick up a camera. I was quite ill at one stage, and moving now, I'm not always, shooting. And I actually get itchy fingers because I really want to be photographing. That is my happiest place, is behind the camera. I call it almost like a meditation zone, where like I can just shut off everything else around, all the noise that's going on around me, and I can just photograph. And that's my happy place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Nice. Do you have some recommended books or influencers or anything like that, like YouTube channels that are good for people to learn more about food photography and its business?
Oh, I mean, we've got some awesome books that have just come out recently. I mean, Joni from the Bite Shot, and her YouTube channels are just, you can find anything on there. I love really Joni, good. And she is just the nicest person. B. Lubas with her book. Kimberly from Little Plantation, also just 3 totally different books,
Yeah.
but all have the same message, and you can just learn so much from each book. I think everybody must just go out and buy every single book available, because they don't cross over in any way. You can sit down and read all 3 books and not go, oh, yawn, I've read that before. They're all so well written in their own personal way, and they all have information that is just great and that you can relate to. I love it. I think they all 3 are fantastic.
All worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then I mean, there's obviously Joni. There's Lucy Beck, who's doing photography courses
Lucy.
now.
That's she.
yeah. She's a fellow Netherlands from. And I mean, she's also amazing. I love Lucy. Her work is beautiful, and she's so relatable. She's just lovely to speak to and chat to. So, yeah, there's a lot of photographers out there that are doing great stuff. But follow them all. Don't have a favorite, because everybody's got a different style, and you pick up things from different photographers, and learn, get inspired by them, learn tips from them, but don't try and become them. Just take what you need to build your own, going back to build your own style, to build your own presence, and create your own Instagram presence.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on Instagram that's starting to look all the same, and it's and I think people need to step out a little bit and try and find other ways of I mean, it's difficult. Food, there are only so many ways you can shoot food. But just try and find a different way of shooting it. Try and see what everybody else is doing, and then go the opposite.
Yeah. Try to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Certainly. And then the last question would be, where can the listeners find you?
Instagram. I'm not across the spectrum on social media. I find it's very difficult to serve so many masters at the same time. Instagram, I love my Instagram account at Donna Crous. And then my website, www.donnacrous.com. And then send me a DM on Instagram. I love answering questions. I love chatting to people, and that's not really Facebook. I'm not on Facebook that much, but I'm more of an Instagrammer.
No TikTok yet.
No, I haven't got into TikTok. I haven't even got into Reels yet on Instagram. So I'm a bit slow on the uptake.
Takes time as well, huh?
Yeah, I tried to do some Instagram Reels, and you're right, it takes like half a day to do it. So I just don't have that time. So one day, maybe, I don't want to say in another lockdown, but maybe in a period like that where we all like sitting around going, what can we do?
Yeah.
Maybe then I'll take it on as a challenge. Yeah, I won't say the word lockdown. We're not going to go down that road.
No, please, not again. Jeez.
Yeah. But maybe if I'm on holiday, or I'm doing something where I don't have to answer to anybody and I don't have bookings or anything, then I can do it.
And you can try it out.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Because it takes time, and you need to develop that skill. It's a skill definitely that needs to be developed.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Donna. It was super nice talking to you.
Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it. And I hope that everybody enjoyed the conversation, and just tag us in your pictures and just have fun creating. That's all.
Thank you.